So one of the most powerful things that I'm a woman of faith. I believe God does some things that you just can't understand until years later. Maybe not in this lifetime will you understand. So I lost a bet with my husband, one of many, but this one I was really stubborn about. This story was happening with my mom, and her brain wasn't working right. I mean, it hadn't worked right since the second round of chemo, but the 50 pounds of weight, the constant insulin, everything that most people coming to keto were struggling with was there. And I had these sticky notes that I could feed her a couple lessons at a time, and I couldn't overwhelm her because too much.
Just little nuggets of.
Change this. Okay, now you got that master. Now we're going to change. Kind of that habit stacking, like get a little bit better, get a little bit better. I mean, the first thing we did is remove the carbs, but then the lessons after that were they were gentle. Every couple months that she was doing well, then we could improve something. We could improve something. And so that story got written because I lost a bet. and
Aren't you glad you lost the bet?
Oh God, I know. So it's because that person is probably to go up and offer them a diet book, they're gonna resist. But when you say you wanna see one of the most inspiring stories, the
David Goggins book.
Yeah, David Goggins' book.
So you're saying just hand it to him, or any way you can.
I would hand him this one. Goggins' book is for something else. That's for my children. Like this is what your mother could have been like. I could have been a Navy SEAL. Look at that. Look what they do. But when that woman is struggling, or that man is doing a walk around there, most of my patients, I'm so glad I did end up putting it on audiobook because they can't read. And it's not like they don't have the capability, it's that their brain is so foggy that they need a good story, and they accidentally learn about ketosis in this story. And I say
accidentally learn about ketosis.
Right.
That's great.
It is a story about cancer, a story about a mom and her daughter, and it's a love story, and it's a painful and humorous, and we've screwed it up plenty of ways, but that, I thought 12 people would read it. I actually knew the 12, I thought it was going to be my family, and that's who it was going to be.
The people that you thanked in the very first page.
Right. And, over 250,000 people have bought that book.
And if you could walk up and hand that book to somebody, like the person I just described in the store, would you do that?
Oh, I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a good result from that?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sure you're going to get somebody's,
right.
What is this?
Right.
I'm doing everything right. You can't tell me anything. You're not wearing a doctor's coat inside Publix. Right. Unless you just forgot.
The other place I've seen that play out is when people are saying, can you be my doctor? And I'm like, if I scale my practice back to what it used to be, I would not have time to be doing the energy it takes to run again, I didn't want to be great at YouTube, but run a YouTube, run the company.
You're an influencer.
Right.
I mean, come on, that's a big job.
Right. Honest to God, it's way more energy and time than I thought it was going to be. But I can't not see patients. It's part of my DNA. I mean, even if seeing them for free was the option, I'd still do it.
Sure.
But I can't see the number that you would need to see in order to get impact.
Especially when you know so many people out here are hungry for truth.
Oh, right. I mean, so that whole, how do I get my doctor to do this? And the best transformation I've said is buy the book, read it, and then pass that copy on to your doctor. And I'll tell you, I am so damn snarky in the first few chapters of it because I was sure I was studying the ketogenic diet to prove everybody wrong.
Right.
Like this is not, I would know about this. I'm sure I would know.
I'm the smartest person in the room. I got this.
And I was, yeah.
You were humbled, weren't you?
Oh my God, it was amazing. Yeah. Like I take care of broken brains for a living. That's what I do.
Right.
That's how I got into ketosis data because Tim Ferriss and Dom D'Agostino had a podcast, and Dom D'Agostino is at USF and has the research behind him, and they were doing a protocol for brain injury in military, and it was everything that I was using, from a TMS machine to the sleep stuff we were doing, but theirs was on a bed of ketones. It was a ketogenic basis first, and they were getting done, like what was taking me 4 years, they were done in 18 months. What was taking me 18 months, they were getting done in 2 months.
They were masterclass.
Oh my gosh.
You're still in kindergarten.
And I was embarrassed. Like, how do I not know this? And so I canceled the clinic, actually, and went to the library for 3 days. I don't ever cancel a clinic because when you look at payroll, you should never cancel a clinic.
Right. There's a business side
right,
of this.
Right, yeah. So you're like, oh, you gotta keep going. But I'm like, no. This, I can't focus. I can't not think about this. And
sure.
So, and by God, it was true. by the end of in the book, I talk about I have brain envy
Okay.
for the autopsy patients that were in the flunky arm, the ketogenic arm of kids with seizures. And they failed the Depakote and they failed the lithium, and so they were in the flunky arm. They were in all we have left is this ketogenic diet. They put the family and the kids in hospital, and this is like 1950s, maybe 60s, and said, okay, you got to keep him in ketosis. And by gosh, in ketosis, the seizures stopped. And now, every time they went out of ketosis, there was a seizure. So now you've got compliance. You think our continuous glucose monitors are transparent. Try wetting your pants and falling over in front of everybody when you,
It's that's another constant glucose monitor, right?
Right.
Okay, so now that brings up something really important is that now people need to understand it is not a medication that got them healed. It was their food that was their medication that got them healed.
And what is the most telling about those kids is they should have riddled brains. They were having hundreds of seizures a day from childhood.
Hundreds a day?
Yes. And now they have died. And so now you get autopsy, which the best part about autopsy is, well, it's a long study. It's not followed by drug pharma. It can't be influenced and stopped early and reverse analyzed through some kind of funky magic math.
You can't throw money at it and fix anything that you see.
It's like, what's an autopsy? And you're like, the tangles, the neurofibril tangles that happen as you age are very predictive of brains of chronic inflammatory diseases like seizures and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. There was none.
That's incredible.
That's none. What do you mean none?
I don't think people understand the value of that.
Right. There was none in that slide? No, there was none. And I'm like, so when I wrote the book, I think I could only find 2 of those autopsies. There's been a few more since then. But the power of saying, oh my God, they lived a life of constant ketosis. They started in childhood. They should have had the worst looking brains, and I have brain envy looking at that.
Wow.
I'm like, persistent ketosis, you say?
So maybe it's a good thing for all of us.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of how we've been designed for thousands of years, that we didn't have processed carbohydrates in a refrigerator that you had, people chirp about their fruit, and I'm like, it's once a season and you got to walk to find it. I mean, come on.
Okay, that answers a question. My wife and I actually had this talk one day. She said, well, Greg, there's people on both sides of the fence when it comes to eating fruit. And one of the sides of the fence is that what you eat is in season, in your geography, not shipped in from the Philippines, not shipped in from Venezuela. You're going to eat what you found in your geography. That's what you eat. Now, you move from South Dakota to Florida, your geography's changed. Seasons changed. Oranges are always in season in Florida, almost always.
Right.
So why can't I just go eat an orange when I'm supposed to instead eat a blueberry or blackberry or raspberry?
Right, yeah. Put that continuous glucose monitor on. You're going to see why.
Okay. But my doctors and all the TV ads all say that oranges are good for me.
Yeah, not at the season of life. You've already screwed that up.
Okay, so we're going back to that statement. You're not getting older; you're getting sicker.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
Body can't handle it.
Right. I mean, one of the interesting things, that 2012 video, that was my first one, and then there was a few of them when I made the book, and I had so many people say something about the audiobook was helpful if you could just break it down into shorter segments. So I put out a few videos in like 2015, maybe 2016 by the time I filmed it. And now it's 2023. And people go back and say, oh my God, you've reversed in age. One of my best friends in my wedding, a physician says, who does your work?
Who does your work?
I said,
Dr. Ketosis.
I should have said that.
Oh my goodness.
Because that reverse aging thing, people think it's like a bumper sticker, but go back and look at the videos, and it is shocking to me too. Like, oh wow, look at that. And I remember as my mom went from this old woman, one of the most powerful parts of my memory of her is this Mary Poppins like magical woman who was the unelected mayor of this little town I grew up in, right? And my kids hadn't seen her in their memorable years. And as that version of her returns, it was the best gift.
That's
where they saw,
cool.
Yeah, they're like, oh, there's Mary Poppins. And she did all the things that make her Grandma Rose, like
Right.
the energy and that reverse age. She looked, I mean, she was back to her high school weight. She was back to like the best health of her life. All of the medical problems, which I'd been dishing out every prescription possible. She had thyroid meds at the end. You know, that was the last one that said, Mom, your thyroid doesn't work, so you need to actually take this. She thought she would keto her way out of that completely. Although some people do, she could not.
Okay.
But she reversed age. She looked like an 80-year-old at 71.
That's amazing.
And at 73, she looked like a 40-year-old. It was just
That is
unbelievable.
stupid amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a picture I have of somebody on my phone. I don't even know the guy's name. All I know is he's 62 years old. When I show that photo to people and say, tell me how old he is, they all guess he's in his 30s. I said, yeah, that's because he doesn't eat sugar.
Yeah.
And they don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
I guess they don't want to have to give up. They don't want to sacrifice.
Right.
Right? So there's a couple more questions I have for you. What is your greatest accomplishment so far in all of your time as a medical professional?
The first thing that comes to mind is IV iron. I'm in Haiti, my first mission trip ever. I did not want to go to Haiti. I didn't know where Haiti was, and my husband signed us up in the church, and somebody from the church calls and says, we need you, and I said no. God said no. She goes, you pray again, I'll call you tomorrow. And she hangs up. I end up in Haiti, and I don't know anything about Haiti. And I get off this plane, and there's death, and the smell of death, and the destruction, and the 2010 earthquake, and it's the second day, and I cannot see the end of the line, and this 7-year-old boy is in front of me saying the same thing the last 5 hours have been. I have a headache, my tummy hurts, tet fat mal. All these, the translator, I learned what they're saying because he keeps saying it, and I'm like, how can everybody be tired and have a headache and have fatigue and malaise? How can everybody have this? And it's like God was helping me. He puked pinworms all over me and they're wiggling around my feet. I'm like, oh, the vitamins we've been giving everybody, we're just feeding the worms. We need albendazole.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I went a little freaky. I told my husband, you need to go find me albendazole. Should be by 10 cents a pill. And he comes back and said, I took the transmission out of the truck, traded it for 2,500 pills of albendazole. Anyway, so he did a drug deal. Got us some albendazole.
He did a drug deal.
And treated everybody for pinworms. And then I went home and became a master at what the hell? How come I didn't think of it? And now the clues I should have had were they were eating the bread with dirt in it. Yeah, that's like a woman at the end of pregnancy chewing on ice.
Yeah.
She does nothing in the ice. It's a syndrome for severely malnourished. And so now I'm seeing kids in the shelter, and they're in my first world country, and they've got brown skin, and I've got white skin, and they come from poverty, and I don't, and they are they're in my shelter because their parents are having a tough season of life, and they're secretly passing around kitty litter. And the patient says to me,